What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid, some more old school acid, and indeed a track I reacted to on my old channel. For those who don't know, I've told the story a number of times, but probably not for a while. I ran a different YouTube channel for maybe a dozen years. I would basically just put up DJ mixes a couple times a year around the holidays. And then about a year and a half ago, talking to a couple of my techno friends and a couple producers that I'm fond of, they convinced me to start doing reactions to techno, trance, and hardcore. So I began doing that. Now obviously this new channel has branched out, and I react all sorts of things. But the point is, eventually YouTube sent me an email a couple months after I started doing reactions that, hey, your channel is linked to an old university alumni account, like alumni email, and alumni emails aren't going to have access to our services anymore, so you have to make a new channel. So I did that, and again, this channel has become more than my old channel was, even in regard to reactions, but obviously I still react to acid and techno and trance and hardcore and so on. And so eventually my old channel was just taken off of YouTube. It's not there anymore. So all those old reactions, with the exception of a couple that I still had and I posted on my new channel the moment I started the new channel, all those old reactions are gone. So slowly but surely I've been going through and redoing new reactions to those tracks that I already talked about. And this is a special one because not only is Lunatic Asylum's People Want Paradise one of my all-time favorite 90s acid tunes, and it's another one that I think perfectly embodies the way in which a number of 90s tracks, it's like, are they acid techno? Are they acid trance? Yeah, a bit of both. They're basically yes is the answer to that question. And this one, it's fast enough and has a hard enough kick, you could maybe even throw the phrase hard acid in there. And indeed, shout out to Guillaume Leroux, aka Lunatic Asylum, when I did the other reaction to this, again about a year and a half ago, he commented and he was saying it's nice to see someone enjoying tunes that I made back in the day. And I was saying, oh, absolutely, I'm a big fan of this tune for a very long time. I still use it in my sets. But in the video I had commented, I think I am aware that the Meltdown tune he did was maybe even bigger. And Guillaume commented, definitely, that tune, was big and opened some doors. He also explained that at this time he was starting to transition toward a harder acid or hardcore sound. And indeed, I eventually got his Memories EP, which at first I thought was tracks from modern time, but done in an old school style. But Guillaume explained when I reacted to one of those on my old channel, that no, he actually made them back in the 90s. And so this was essentially like reissuing like old material that he had done on vinyl, which is fantastic. And I love the cover of that Memories EP. Basically, I'm going to come back and re-react to both of those tunes as well. But I wanted to start with this one. I mentioned it in the old reaction, so I'll be brief, but People Want Paradise was included on a compilation called The Sound of Acidcore Volume 1. Now, I had the first 4 volumes of that series eventually over time. I still think the first 2 are just flawless. My love of acid techno and acid trance really took off with the first 2 volumes of this series, and People Want Paradise was on the first volume. So again, it mixes atmosphere that you could say is acid trance-like. It has drive and acid power that you'd say is very reminiscent of acid techno. It's fast enough and hard enough. Again, you could say maybe it's hard acid. So it's just really indicative of the way some of the tunes that I enjoyed the most in the 90s sort of, rode the border between some different subgenres. So without any further ado, let's get it. And once again, big shout out to Guillaume Leroux, aka Lunatic Asylum. This is his tune People Want Paradise from Dance Ecstasy 2001. That's the label, and the year is 95. And I feel like, again, this tune could have come out a couple years later, like 97, 98, and I think it still would sound like very fresh. But the fact that it was 95 is just very impressive to me. And it comes, I mentioned this in the old video, the digital Camelon. I think it was supposed to be Chameleon. So essentially it's the digital Chameleon release. But yeah, 28 years old, this release. Oh my God. It's like an analog ocean. now that it sort of keeps that slow flow up and down, it reminds me of like a rainy day. Like it's a melancholy to it. Like I'm traveling to the past as I hear this now. This drop, I like, you know, I think the whole tune is great, and I love the slow atmospheric intro, or the like slow burn atmospheric intro. But fair to say, this drop is this is legendary. Remember a good friend of mine, a friend of my older brother, but my older brother sort of like took me to my first parties and gave me, you know, my first Goa Trance mixtapes, which led me to acid music. A buddy of his who was very Goa and didn't, you know, typically listen to like acid techno or anything like that. I remember playing the CD I had this on, the Sound of Acid Core. And this tune he took a notable interest in, he was sort of following it and whatever, and when it got to this part and the People Want Paradise, like he had a big smile and he was like, alright, this is pretty good. Well, man. I like that shift right there. Now it's like blanketing everything. And watch when that heat gets turned up.
People want paradise.
It's great now, and it's like so nostalgic to my brain. Warbling acid lung. perfection. Like the intro, the main substance of the track, and the ending. It's just perfect. So again, big shout out to Guillaume. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think it's a great tune, independent of my own personal history. But it is hard for me to extract it from my own growing involvement in the mid to late '90s. Again, I mentioned my brother gave me a couple Trance mixtapes because he had started to go to parties with his friends, and he's like several years older than me. And after a couple months of listening to them, I was like, hey, like, what's that sound in a lot of these tracks? He's like, oh, like, that's the acid sound. There's actually genres that are, like, all about that. I was like, do tell. Which led me to try to find releases that were acid-related, which led me to the Sound of Acid Core Volume 1, which led me to this track, as well as, like, Apex, Kunda, and, like, a number of other tunes, what is it, The Dentist, what are they, the Boskaland tracks, like having it in Boskaland. In fact, this track I think would mix really well with, there's a tune under the name, I think it's, what is it, Rollin' the Dentist or something like that, but it's on the Rollin' Goes Mad in Boskaland release, and it's like live at Enerhalen, I forget the name of the place, but it's live at somewhere. And it, like, I think that track would mix so perfectly with this. So yeah, big shout out to old school 90s acid that was fast and hard, but with like trance stylings, but hard enough that you could mix it in a, like, you know, a having it acid techno set. Indeed, I think, like, tempo wise, my brain will always be stuck in the 90s. So again, big shout out to Guillaume, big shout out to those who followed the acid techno and acid trance reactions. Again, this channel has become much more than my old channel was, and I react to everything, you know, like heavy metal, punk rock, synth pop, pop rock, you name it. So obviously the acid techno and acid trance reactions are a much smaller percentage of the overall output, but I will always continue to do them. So shout out to those who continue to follow them. Do let me know what you think of this. I will see you next time. Peace.